How you doing? My name is Dr. Gabriel Lerman. I'm a critical care specialist, and I'm here to start on a new endeavor to reach out to all of you out there who have been thinking about medical school, have either dreamt of medical school in the past, or have now decided now is the time to do it, either because the pandemic hit and you became enchanted with medicine, or because you're stuck in a career that you don't like, you're stuck in a job you don't like, and you felt that this was a calling. I know. I've been there. I did not take the typical route to medical school, which is after high school you do 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, and then become a physician. Nope. I did 4 years of college and actually did not do too well in college, which is weird because I was actually a pretty good student in high school. Maybe it wasn't challenging enough, but I started a family, started a career, and then decided it was time to apply to medical school. So this is an introductory video as to what I'm hoping to provide in my content. So what is this channel? This channel is for encouragement. This channel is for information. This channel is to give you my perspective to this journey, and this is a journey. If you think that it will take you 1 or 2 years, you're sorely mistaken, and you're not realistic. What this channel is not is, it's not political. I do not want to discuss any political issues. I will not discuss pro or anti-vaccine. I will not be giving medical advice. But rather I'm going to stick to the content that I promise you. A little bit about me. So as I said before, I'm what you call a non-traditional. I graduated college in 1997 with a degree in biotechnology. Now, when I first got into college, I was gung-ho about medicine. I was an EMT. I was an EMT when I was 16, and I thought that there was no other place for me to go. However, my freshman year, I made a lot of mistakes. I pledged a fraternity, I went to parties. What I did not do was study appropriately. In fact, turns out I really didn't know how to study at all. You go into college thinking everything's going to be like high school, and you're going to be in for a very rude awakening. To give you an idea, I would study for my midterms in high school watching the Super Bowl, and I'd still get A's and high B's in my midterm examinations. Couldn't even get that high in college. So I was very disheartened by the end of my first semester and was trying to convince myself that this was not something that I wanted to do. And it turns out I was lying to myself. However, by the time I graduated in 1997, my GPA was an abysmal 2.56, and there was no way that I was ever going to even be considered for an interview, let alone admission into medical school. Now, back then, in the olden days of 1997, the 20th century, you had to do a lot of legwork. You had to get a book, you had to call and get information. Everything had to be done by hand. There were no electronic applications. So it would have been a lot of time and effort for something that I knew was just not going to happen, not to mention a lot of money. And in my opinion, going to the Caribbean was just not a starter. I got married. Turns out I was marrying my college sweetheart. And I started my life. Started working in customer service for a small Welch company. Did not like it. And then I went into the lab. I went to school for biotechnology and did a lot of research on molecular biology. That's where I need to be. So I began working in a small biotech firm, did really well. However, I had a lot of issues with what I would say maturity. You know, not that it was a problem per se, but rather things that you really shouldn't say in the workplace, not from an illegal or harassment standpoint, but just things you just don't tell your boss, would just come out. And I actually wound up going for another position doing academic research at a hospital in New York City. And from there, that's when my journey really began. I did a lot of work on colorectal cancer, breast cancer, and I remember my boss was telling me that he believed I should go for a PhD. And unfortunately, at the time, we were about to have our first child, and there was no way that I could leave a career or leave a paycheck in order to pursue academia. One of the benefits of where I worked was the fact that they would have tuition reimbursement, so I went for a master's degree in biology. At that point, I realized that there was a big issue in college, and the issue in college was that I did not know how to study. I would be able to tutor my roommate, tutor his girlfriend. They would get the A and the B, and then I would get the D or the F. I knew the material, but I would freeze up during exams, and sorry about the light. And that certainly is something that I would have to deal with. And if I wanted to get into medical school, that is something that needed to get controlled. I found one day I was listening to a tape of a thunderstorm. A tape. No MP3s, no nothing. It was a tape. And I was towards the end of my college career, and I realized, hey, I'm getting the material. I'm not falling asleep, which is what having no noise would do to me, and I'm not losing concentration, which is what would happen to me if I would listen to music. All different kinds of music. I tried classical, jazz, whatever. Wouldn't help. Then I started to record the lectures, and in the back of my mind, I was not afraid of missing information on my notes because I knew I was recording this. And then I would listen to the lecture again, but not write down any notes. And I realized I retained all the information. And then finally, when I was reviewing the material, I would test myself, but then review all the answers, the right ones to make sure that I got it correct for the correct reasons, and then the incorrect ones to see why my answer was incorrect. From there, I actually had a 4.0 in the first couple of semesters. Now, this particular school that I was at allowed you to take 9 credits without even being matriculated. So I did, and I had a 4.0. At that point, I had to sit and take the GRE, and I was accepted as a full-time regular student. Of course, I would go in the evening and after work. But I remember that I got into an argument with my brother, and at the time, my wife and I, and at that point we had a baby, went on vacation. And while the baby was kind of crying herself to sleep, we were right outside on the balcony. I said, I don't want to live with regret. I think I'm going to apply to medical school. Whatever happens, happens. But at least if I don't get in, I can say I tried. So my concern was I had all of these problem classes when I was an undergrad. So I went back to my undergrad, and I spoke with the health professions office, and I showed them my recent transcript. And I said, as you're taking a Master's in Science, Master of Science in Biology course, you're getting these very high grades in these very difficult courses. More and more what happened as an undergraduate is going to go away. So he suggested I contact a couple of medical schools, and I did. I contacted One medical school that was local, I had a meeting with the dean of admissions, and they reiterated what the health professions office said, that the further we go from my undergraduate years, and the fact that I'm getting very good grades in graduate school, and these are not wimpy courses, these are hardcore science courses, that they would look at that more so than anything. And so I continued. I put my nose to the grindstone and graduated with a 3.7, 3.8 GPA from graduate school. I needed to focus on the MCAT, and I'm going to do a separate video on my strategy for that. So, long story short, I applied to medical school. I got into medical school. Started medical school in 2007. At that point, my wife and I were married since 1999. We had 3 children. My youngest one was about to turn 1. And I left my career. We sold our house, packed everything up, and we moved. New city, same state, close to family, and I was unemployed. My wife worked from home, but she didn't make a king's ransom. 4 years later, I graduate from medical school and I start a residency in internal medicine. Now I'm starting to make some money, and I'll discuss this later on in another video with regards to residency, how to deal with finances. So I did an internal medicine residency, and I then applied and did a 2-year fellowship in critical care. I completed my education in 2016. I started medical school in 2007, but I started the whole medical school journey in 2003. I became an attending physician in 2016. 13 years. That's how long it took from when I decided I wanted to go to medical school and really be serious about it until I completed all of my training. It's been 5 years since I completed all my training. I'm an intensive care specialist, and I am happy. I am ecstatic. I love my work. It's tough. These last almost 2 years has been more difficult than you can ever imagine. Not just stress-wise, but mental health-wise, intellectual-wise, and human-wise. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wake up in the morning and it could be my 10th day on service, and I enjoy going into work. What do I hope to do here? I just told you my story. I didn't tell you everything because then it's just going to be a 1-video show. But I hope my story is encouraging enough that those of you who are thinking about it and are really looking into it, really want to do something like this, will do it. And I will certainly go over what I did. Now remember, what I did is what I did. It is not what you should do, and you have to do whatever you feel is appropriate for you in your situation. But this is just an example of what could be done. And maybe those examples are going to help you in your situation, in that you can tailor it for you. I'm also hoping to teach a little bit about what it's like, what mistakes you should avoid, what you should do, mindful things, and how to deal with the stress of everything. And finally, mentoring those of you who feel that you are alone in this situation, I can tell you, you are not. There are plenty of people out there like you, like me, who have done it and want to do it. What I'm not going to do is not going to be an all or nothing approach. There's no such thing as an all or nothing approach. Okay. You can't have an all or nothing attitude. You have to have a lot of leeway, a lot of sway, but more importantly, you have to have a lot of patience. What I also will not do is I will not give you any medical advice whatsoever. Don't ask me what you should do about a mole, what you should do about a pain, what you should do about if your leg comes out of your arm. That's not what I'm here for. That's what your personal doctor is there for. And I will not be reviewing any kind of documents. Don't ask me to review your personal statement. Don't ask me to look at your application. I am way too busy working. I have other responsibilities within graduate medical education. I also I'm heavily involved in teaching my residents in the simulation program that I've developed. So I have way too much responsibility to be able to review anything for anybody. That being said, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your time, and I'm hoping to put out 1 to 2 videos a month. Actually, one video a week. Sorry, 1 video a week. Minimum 2 videos a month. It all depends on my schedule and how things are. So, welcome aboard. I hope you'll stay on this journey, and wishing you all the luck in the world.